A question somebody asked me on one of them comment on one of them videos I have up, one of them container videos. And he looking at all containers, and I think he's staying in South Florida. I might have asked him where he stayed, but his question, he was asking me, can you make money running out of Miami port? And running out of Miami port, man, Miami port is a different beast. All the ports I pull out of, me personally, Miami port the one I don't like the most. And it's a few reasons why I don't really like Miami port. Cause the the traffic down there is crazy, man. Like, if you could pick up your load, like for example, if you just going to Orlando and back, or even say you're going to Atlanta or something like that, it wouldn't be so bad because you're not in and out the port 3, 4 times a day, or you're not trying to go in and out 3, 4 times a day. You might go in there once for the day, you bring one in, you pull one out, you head up the road, come back tomorrow, you bring one in, pull one out, you head back up the road. That's not bad if you're going there at the right time. Now, going in Miami Port at the right time, you'll learn what's the right time real quick. Because the work, we call it banker's hours. Miami Port work banker's hours, man. They work 8 to 5. The port open at 8 and they close at 5. So that's kind of a setback if you're running drift. That means you're just running around right there in the area. You're in and out the port daily. In the morning before the port open, what we normally do is if you're trying to beat the traffic, that's what I was saying. I'm not sure if you live in Miami, but if you live like North Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, anywhere up there, and you're trying to beat the traffic to go in Miami port, you're going to run into an issue when you get down there to the port. Because you're going to get down there about, say, 6 o'clock. You try to get down there early so you don't have to deal with that morning traffic going down there to Biscayne. So what's going to happen is you get down there and you want to post up until the port open. Normally we park inside the tunnel. So there'll be a line going in the port and the line stretch inside the tunnel. The port security, they don't want us park in the tunnel, so they'll come in there and tell us we gotta leave. So what you gotta do, you gotta go out the tunnel, go up by the port, make a U-turn, come back over the bridge. Like if you're going to South Beach, you go on that bridge, you gotta come back over the bridge, past the what you call it, the Miami Heat arena right there, and you gotta go about 2 blocks up, make a U-turn, and come back down. It's like a cat and mouse game. Once the port security leave, you come back and you post back up in the tunnel again. And he might come around again until you gotta leave. But if he making his rounds and he see all these trucks in the tunnel, he come and tell us we gotta leave. We can't sit in the tunnel. That's one of the setback for Miami Port for me. They need to have right in front the entrance to the port. They need to have a staging area for us to sit and wait for the port to open. My second issue with Miami Port is they take a 2 hour lunch break. So you might be there in line trying to get your box out. Next thing you know, they're going to lunch and you gotta sit there for 2 hours. I might have one guy working a certain ship line and he cannot manage all the trucks coming in by himself. One thing I noticed with Miami Port compared to the other ports though is that, well, I wouldn't even just say Miami Port because Palm Beach Port do the same thing. They let those food trucks come in the port. So if you get stuck in the port, you always have somewhere to go get lunch or whatever. They're being there for a long time. So that's a plus on Miami Port. Then they close at 5 o'clock. So if you get caught up in there during the lunch break, the line be so long, sometime by the time you get out the port, you're gonna hit that traffic on 95. And that gonna take you a long time to get back up north. So running Miami Port, you gotta have a lot of patience. Man, you get aggravated easily running Miami Port, man. I wouldn't discourage anybody from doing it. That's just my opinion on it. That's why I didn't like Miami Port. And it's a lot of trucks going in Miami Port. It's not a small port. It's a lot of stuff go in and out of there. So you get backed up in there. Another thing with Miami Port is majority of the people, and that's Miami overall. It's like North Cuba. Majority of the people that work in the port speak Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, sometimes it's hard to talk to certain people in there. And if you're new to Miami Port and you don't know where all the ship lines are, trying to just go up to another driver and asking them for information, a lot of times you're not going to get no information. Or you got to go through three, four drivers before you find one that speak English to understand what you're saying or to tell you to show you the ropes in the port. If you speak Spanish, it'll be a lot easier working Miami Port. Or if you know somebody who know the port and they could be on the phone with you and tell you exactly where to go and what to do. So that was another downfall for me running out of Miami Port. I don't speak Spanish. So some of them, especially the truck drivers in there, I couldn't communicate with some of them. And when you check in, once you pull up to the interchange, the person you talk to on the phone, sometimes they don't speak a lot of English. So sometimes you ask them something and they have to get somebody else on the phone. But you cannot expect better in Miami because most of Miami is Spanish. That's their city. They make the rules. They do what they want to do, and they run most of the stuff down there, which in turn they run the port down there. So it's either you learn Spanish or you're gonna have a hard time running out of Miami Port. A lot of loads come out of Miami Port, man. They pull loads out of Miami Port. They go all over. I see them guys up in Atlanta. I see them up in Kentucky. They go to Chicago. Pulling out of Miami Port, you could you just to find the right carrier to run you how you want to run. Cause wherever you want to go, you could get a load out of Miami Port going there, pulling a container. And me, bottom line, I would run Miami Port again, but I don't want to run Dre pulling out of Miami Port. Like at one point, I was pulling out of Miami Port, going to Orlando, and come back. That wasn't bad, and those were night runs. So I pull out. Why do I like pull my box Friday? It was Monday to Friday, so I pull my box Friday. I leave out Sunday night, say about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Head up to Orlando, deliver as soon as I get there, and I turn around, come right back, take that empty into the port, pull out my next load, and head back up to Orlando. That wasn't bad. Now, another thing with Miami Port, if you're not with the right company, some of them pay real cheap. So you gotta do your research on the companies. Go there, call them or whatever, and get a rate sheet from them. Basically, if you know a company out of Miami Port that you're interested in, and you heard they have some loads going to Orlando or they have loads going to Jacksonville, you ask them, just ask them how much your loads pay. And then you determine from there if that's good enough for you. Now, one thing in trucking when it comes to pay, everybody is not equal. What might not be a lot for somebody might be a lot for you. So when a person asks me, can you make money running out of Miami Port? I cannot tell them yes and I cannot tell them no. Because I don't know what they're looking to accomplish. I don't know how much money they're looking to make. I don't know what their lifestyle is like. So if me tell you yes, and then you go there and it's not how much you were looking to make, then you're going to be like, well, I didn't tell you the truth. But in reality, what you looking to make, you're not making that. So that's not my fault that you're not making the money you're looking to make pulling out that port. And just the same way, if I say I'm not making no money, you could go there and you making X amount, and that's a lot of money for you. And that's in trucking overall. No matter which company you go with, no matter what you're pulling, whether you're pulling dry box, reefer, flatbed, container, whatever it is, find your lane and stay in your lane. Know how much you want to make. Don't just ask a person if you can make money running out this port or running this type of trail or something like that. If you're trying to figure out will it work for you, a lot of people that I talk to, and when it comes to money and they ask me a certain question, I ask them how much money are you trying to make, and by the answer they give me on that, I'll tell them, well, yeah, is drivers there doing that, or hey, it might be rough trying to make that. You know what I'm saying? Like if a driver say he trying to gross 5,000 a week after all expenses, I'm gonna tell him, hey, it's gonna be rough doing that, man. You're not gonna see that every week. You might see it once in a blue moon or something like that, but that's gonna be rough. You might not see that. If you say trying to make 25 a week after fuel, then I'll tell him, yeah, that's more reasonable. You could see that. But that's just my take on pulling out of Miami Port, man. And another thing about pulling out of Miami Port, if you know what you're doing, you know the area, you know Miami, you know where all the satellite container yards are at, it'll be a lot easier for you pulling out of Miami Port. Cause all the empty containers don't have to go back in the port, and all the empty containers don't have to come out the port. It's a few empty yards in Medley, it's some in Opelika, it's some in Hialeah. So once you get to know the area and know what's around the area, so you got pick up an empty you gotta pick up an empty container, empty MSC. I'm just using MSC as an example. That's one of the ship lines. You're picking up an empty 40-foot standard that you gotta take to a customer down in, let me see. Well, just say you're picking up an empty 40 that you gotta take to a customer up in Jupiter to get loaded. You don't necessarily have to go in the port to get the empty container. You could go to the container yard over in Medley, provide them with the booking number, and you could pick up the container from there. That'll save you a lot of time going to Miami port to go get that container. Now you head up the road, get loaded. The loaded container have to go back in the port. You cannot take the loaded container to the satellite yard or to the empty yard. The only thing at the empty yard is empty containers. All the loaded containers go back to the port. So once you know the area, once you know your job, and it is a learning curve. When you first get there running the port, just know that the first few weeks, maybe the first month and a half, it's just a learning period. You're trying to learn how to run the port, learn which boxes you have to go in the port for, or which boxes you could get outside the port. And that's how it is for a lot of other areas also. Some of them might have a lot more yards outside the port that you deal with. Some of them might have less. But you have to learn the area that you're looking to go running. That plays a big part on how successful you are running the port.